Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Valentin Schmidt, and I'm going to be the host for the morning brief with Jimmy Song and Tone Vase today. And we got a couple of interesting stories for you. I'm just going to recap very quick what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Lightning Network. We're going to talk about blockchain implementation of Bitcoin Cash. We're going to talk about Tether, how many tethers there are. We're going to talk about Mt. Gox, how people could be made whole, at least in fiat. And then we have a little comic relief and a nice Christmas present idea for you guys. So let's kick off with the Lightning Network. Jimmy, this is your specialty.
Yeah, so this is a very good video on explaining the Lightning Network. It's I encourage you guys to watch it and start getting excited for this stuff because we do have a 1.0 protocol standard now, and the ecosystem
Can you
is
go
starting
back up so people see the title of the?
Yeah, sure. It's so
Oh, it's right there. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Bitcoin's Lightning Network simply explained.
Yeah, so really good video. Take a look at it and watch it. Tell your friends about it. The ecosystem needs to mature, obviously, but having more people understand how it works and how it sort of reduces on-chain transactions significantly is something that I think everyone should know more about, because this is what's coming. This is what Bitcoin's going to look a couple years from now, and this will probably be the majority of transactions at some point in time. We just don't know when because we still need infrastructure.
And just to be clear, this is a second layer solution for off-chain settlement because the core people want to keep the block size with the SegWit at a little more than a megabyte.
Well, that's with SegWit, it's a maximum of 4 megabytes, but yeah, I think optimizes at around 2 megabytes. So at that point, if you have SegWit transactions, which you need actually for Lightning to work properly, because you remove malleability vectors, this is what's going to come next. But in order to do that, we need companies to implement SegWit first, and then have Lightning channels on top of that.
And there have been successful tests, but obviously this is still in development, and this is one solution how to really scale the network. What are the limits on scaling on Lightning?
Well, you could do some insane number of transactions per second. Just depends on because you're no longer limited by the blockchain. You get instant settlement more or less because you have instead of the bearer instrument being sort of like blockchain coins, you have like a potential transaction that you can publish at any time. So that ends up being like a transfer of value. You net on the blockchain. You can do millions of transactions per second, I think, depending on like how the network topology is and how far away people are from each other and things like that. But it's the capacity is much larger, assuming you have enough money in the Lightning channel. So it's a very good potential for a medium of exchange.
Fantastic. Okay, Tone, what do you think?
No, this is great. I've never seen this channel before. Like, I clicked on the channel, and he has a lot of these really cool videos explaining a lot of these concepts. So it looks like a pretty cool channel.
SAFG.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking forward to this kind of stuff. It's I'm still frustrated with all of the wallets that haven't yet integrated SegWit. I mean, that's my biggest frustration. These were the same people that were bitching and complaining that Bitcoin is too slow, have no interest in upgrading to infinite number of transactions a second. It's really fascinating and frustrating at the same time.
Talking about one of these people or companies which hasn't implemented SegWit yet, that's our next topic. That's Blockchain.info. I think it's still the biggest web wallet. And they haven't implemented SegWit, but they did announce now their support for Bitcoin Cash, also a bit late, to be completely fair. So they're going to credit the holders of Bitcoin prior to August 1. They're going to credit with Bitcoin Cash, which may or may not lead to a dumping of a lot of cash coins in the near future. Tone, why don't you start off with this?
I need Jimmy to explain to me how they're able to credit people's Bitcoin Cash, because I thought you were in possession of your own keys there. No.
Yeah, no, they are in possession. The wallet just basically makes it possible to create Bitcoin Cash transactions. So now you can take the coins out of your blockchain.info wallet. You could have exported the private key, put it into another wallet, and then transferred it that way, but this is now native.
But what I read was blockchain.info is fully supporting Bitcoin Cash and even Ethereum.
Yeah, that's what it says here, I think. Just like with Bitcoin and Ether, users hold their Bitcoin Cash private keys, meaning they will.
And they still haven't implemented SegWit. So look, I have hated blockchain.info since about late 2014. I had already named them like the worst Bitcoin wallet back in 2014. You know, I'm not surprised that they're going in Bitcoin Cash direction because I believe Roger Ver is like one of their bigger investors.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised. And it's really unfortunate. It not only is it like a shitty wallet from a stability standpoint, I would never trust this wallet. Like to me, they're gonna migrate into Bitcoin Cash most likely, and it's unfortunate because you know it's like the branding of Bitcoin.com, the branding of blockchain, which was a terrible name for this. I mean, it's good for their SEO and stuff, but naming your wallet blockchain is very misleading, and yeah, so it's like total brand confusion with that wallet from the beginning. And yeah, it's very frustrating how some of the bigger and more popular naming brands in the space are basically barely aligned with Bitcoin and are basically more aligned with like Chinese knockoffs and scam coins. It's very unfortunate. I mean, I would love for there to be a boycott against blockchain.info. I mean, I used to like Nicholas Carey, the guy who started that company. It's pretty much the only person I know of at that company that I know a few other people that are there, but like I don't care for them personally. But I like Nicholas Carey. I mean, he did step away. He's not the CEO anymore, I think. Yeah, it's really unfortunate what blockchain.info has turned into. Very, very bad.
Actually, Tone, I may have to correct you here. Nicholas Carey didn't start the company. He took it over from a guy, I forgot the name, who was also working on Coinbase and got shut up by Martin Armstrong. And Roger Ver hired Nicholas Carey to really turbo boost the project.
Oh, you mean Brian Armstrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I like Nicholas Carey. I thought he started it. I guess he didn't.
He was responsible for the big growth, definitely.
Yeah,
and Jimmy, you have a tweet from Peter Smith.
Yeah, I do. I do. Here's Peter Smith's tweet from January 31st, 2017. Before the hostile core replies come, yes, I support SegWit. Yes, we are ready for it. And yes, I've encouraged others. Is this a lie? I don't know.
That's bullshit. It's been a year, still no SegWit. So
yeah. So I don't know like what he was trying to do there, but regardless, I mean, I don't know about this company, right? Like they're the biggest block explorer, obviously, largely because they have like the name blockchain.info, you know, the URL or whatever, and that's kind of the default thing that they go to.
I'm gonna have to retweet that one. Hey, if you have Twitter, right? Can you go back to Twitter?
Yeah, right here.
Can you go to Francis? You know Francis from Montreal Bitcoin Embassy. Can you find his account real quick? He had an awesome tweet in relation to this.
Okay, let me look at it. Yeah.
If you type Francis, it should come up.
Yeah, it's like I'm running too many.
Yeah, there he is. There he is.
Let's see, Francis. Yeah, sorry about that. All right, what did he say?
All right, so he had like a picture from the Montreal Embassy and the graphic that they had there. I don't know if it's a straight up tweet or it's a reply to something, which is unfortunate. He basically showed a picture from 2014 from a billboard at the Bitcoin Embassy, and it had like the blockchain.info logo with the big X on it. And he said that was from 2014 when they had that there. It might be in his replies. If you go to
tweets and replies, yeah.
Oh, there it is. It's in the photos. It's in the photos. If you go to where it says right below the followers, there's photos. Click on that second photo.
Okay, it's this one.
Yeah, it's the photo of like.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
We do not recommend.
And he said, right, and that's a picture from 2014.
Wow.
Yeah. So him and I were on the same page back then. I didn't even know him back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what Blockchain.info is doing. Like they have a block explorer. I don't know what they are doing as a company or how they are contributing to the ecosystem. Their wallet is more or less the same. They took a long time to even allow, I mean, I'm glad that they did this Bitcoin Cash thing, so the people that had Bitcoin Cash on their Blockchain.info wallet can now get it out. But they're slow to everything. What the heck? Like, what have you done in the last 3 years as a company? I'm like really curious. Like, have you made anything? Like your Block Explorer still doesn't have a testnet version. You like played around with Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash. You don't implement SegWit. Like, do you not have enough engineers? What's going on, blockchain?
Yeah, and they criticized Bitcoin Core for going too slow.
Yeah.
And the Bitcoin Core fired back saying, "Hey, you guys have like an infinite amount of money from your funding. How come you don't contribute any development to Bitcoin Core?"
Well, I mean, clearly they can't even contribute to their own development. Like, I haven't seen any improvement. Like, what their site is exactly the same from 2013. I mean, maybe they have a couple of other things like. I think they support like showing a SegWit address or something like that. But honestly, this is a company that's raised like hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know what the hell they're using it for. I mean, if you're an investor,
advertising. They're using it for advertising to get noobs into a shitty Bitcoin wallet so that everyone hates Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, what have you done in this industry? Like, if you're an investor in this company, I mean, you really have to be asking yourself, okay, why are you valuing yourself at this large an amount? At least Coinbase has like users.
Their biggest investor is Roger, who's on a mission to destroy Bitcoin. So it's perfect. They're doing exactly what the investor.
They don't have one investor though. They raised a pretty big round, and like they seem to be saying, okay, well, a lot of people use our wallet, therefore we're worth a lot of money. How the hell are you monetizing this stuff? I mean, you don't have good tools. I don't know where your developers are. Like what they're working on. I'm just confused about this company in general, and I'd like to see more stuff out of them. Like even before contributing to core, like make your software do something interesting. Like support SegWit on your wallet. It's not that hard. There are other like web wallets, there are other wallets that have way less developers than you guys do, and they've implemented it in like three days.
Green Address has one developer. One developer.
Yeah.
It has replaced by fee. It has child pays for parent, and it has SegWit. One developer.
Yeah, I mean, the only explanations I can come up with are they don't have the developers to be able to do this, which is a bad sign, or they're just pivoting away from Bitcoin, which is also a bad sign. Either way, it doesn't bode very well for you as a company if you can't implement something like SegWit onto your wallet. I mean, it saves people money. Like, why don't you want to help your customers? I don't get it. Anyway, rant over.
Okay, guys, some tough questions and some hating for blockchain. I'm sure that topic's going to come up in the future. So let's go to next of our evergreens, which is Tether, where Jimmy has it open in the Block Explorer, and that number you see in the top there means a total of 1,050,000,000 Tether has now been printed and is in circulation. And Jimmy thinks that's a bit much.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely a milestone, and Bitfinex and Tether's position has always been that it's new institutional money that's coming in, and who knows, maybe they're right, maybe they're not. I just see this as a huge centralization risk. If they are kind of printing it without backing in their vault or whatever, this is a big problem. That's $1 billion that has to come in order to cover this stuff. If they don't, even if they do, that's a huge centralization risk. Some government can seize the $1 billion, and all these people that have tethers are out of money. So, I mean, that said, I think people have sort of known about the tether risk at this point. So, in a sense, it's kind of like Mt. Gox. Everyone kind of knew something was up. And if you held money at Mt. Gox, then like you kind of knew the risks that you were taking. So in a way, I feel like this is the same, right? Like, don't hold your money in Tether unless you're absolutely certain that you're going to get your money back. Put it in Bitcoin. Keep it out of this stuff. And I don't know who's going to be a bag holder or whatever, but there's certainly a risk, and it should be trading under $1 because of that risk premium. And I don't understand why it doesn't.
Tone, what would have to happen for this to blow up?
Either one of those two things, right? So either a realization that the money is not behind Tether, or a realization that Tether is e-gold and some government's going to show up and just take the money. I mean, it's just bad. Jimmy, when you and I did that live stream with Bitfinex and Flibber, Tether was like $600 million. And I was saying it's going to be $1 billion by end of year. And we're already at $1 billion. Like, it's completely insane. I couldn't care less about Tether when it was 10 million, maybe even when it was 100 million. But Mt. Gox was a $400 million blow up, I think. And this is already $1 billion. And there's no way this doesn't blow up. It's going to implode. This thing is, like you said, Jimmy, it's either the money is not there or the money is there, and it could be even worse if the money is there, right? Because it's going to get confiscated. So I keep calling it a centralized problem to a decentralized solution. Now, I kind of understand why Tether is still trading at $1, because if they don't keep printing Tethers, the demand for the Tethers available could outpace the Tethers out there for availability, and it would drive up the price of Tether, just like, a GBTC on the pink sheets drove up the price of Bitcoin to like 3 times more than the value of Bitcoin, because the Bitcoin that's available for GBTC is very, very contracted. So the same thing could happen to Tether. So Tether could easily be trading at like a 2x premium. It's basically a cash premium. But then it will flip to a 50% discount the moment they realize that Tether isn't worth the paper it's printed on. I just love the hypocrisy, how most people that love Tether and don't see Tether as a problem hate the Federal Reserve and hate the dollar. And that hypocrisy is just going out of control, because it's the same thing.
Yeah, Tether is definitely centralized. Like Tone said, centralized solution to a decentralized, decentralized problem to a decentralized solution. And 2 risk factors he names is that the money isn't there, that they claim to be there, or that government comes and shuts it down and confiscates it, which is easy at a centralized point of control. So next, some good news from Mt. Gox, where the creditors, so everybody who had Bitcoin on Mt. Gox in 2014, they could be made whole again thanks to the rise of Bitcoin, which is bailing out the developing countries like Bulgaria and now also the Gox creditors. They could be made whole in fiat. They won't get all their Bitcoin back, of course, but they could be made whole in fiat now at the price that they had it at the time when it blew up, which was around $450. Jimmy, why don't you explain?
Yeah, so they seized like 202,000 Bitcoins when Mt. Gox blew up, which is now worth 3.3 billion. And I think they crossed like that parity point like back in April or something like that, when it hit like 2,800. They could just pay off everybody for 2,800 and like just be even. But it's risen so fast that a lot of the creditors are just saying, okay, let's bring this company out of bankruptcy. There are enough assets. And instead of like making us whole at 450, you can like make us whole in Bitcoin or something like that, and get some fraction of Bitcoin instead of $450 per Bitcoin that they had on there. Obviously there's well, actually it's not obvious, but there's a lawsuit by Peter Vesesnes, who's now like in Ethereum and stuff like that. But he's sort of filed this really frivolous lawsuit against Mt. Gox that sort of held up this bankruptcy proceeding for a very long time. I forget which company. Is it BitInstant or something like that? But he used to be CEO of some company, and he filed like a $180 million lawsuit against Mt. Gox, and basically that's been holding up the entire bankruptcy process for like 2 or 3 years. So obviously he's kind of at least in my mind, a pretty scammy kind of person. And you know, he's done a lot of weird things in this space, and the fact that he's in Ethereum should tell you all that you need to know about, you know, where people like him go. But yeah, I really hope that these people are made whole. It's kind of unfortunate, and you know, bringing it out of bankruptcy would be almost unprecedented. But this is kind of, you know, Bitcoin is kind of a brave new world, right? Like you can, it's a rising asset. So, you know, bankruptcy filing takes 4 years. Okay, you're not really bankrupt anymore. I don't know. We'll see.
So this is fascinating. But basically, normal bankruptcies, you just lose pretty much everything. And in the Bitcoin bankruptcy, after a couple of years, at least in fiat, you get back 100% on the dollar. That's not too bad, is it, Tone?
Yeah, I believe that this stupid lawsuit actually helped everyone because it held up the money, and now the money is worth so much more that everybody could be paid back whole in fiat terms. I personally, like, I wasn't in Mt. Gox, but at this point, I would be perfectly okay with paying everybody back the fiat amount that they lost when the company went down, and Mark Karpeles gets to keep the rest, right? So Mark Karpeles would probably get to keep about $300 or $400 million in today's valuation. Everybody gets the rest. I have zero problem at this point with Mark Karpeles walking away with the money. There have been, I can name off the top of my head, 100 to 200 scammers that walked away with insane amount of money that should be in prison and instead of Mark Karpeles. So I have no problem with him getting to keep all that money for his troubles of going to a Japanese prison.
Tone being lenient with Mark Karpeles, who, by the way, I think already served a year in the Japanese prison waiting for the hearings, right, Jimmy?
Yes, he did, and you know, I don't wish I've talked to Charlie Shrem. I don't think anybody should think that prison is at all like in any way like fun or anything. So he suffered a lot. I mean, he wasn't a very good security guy, but he did bring at least some value to the space. Obviously, like, having his company die was kind of devastating for him and to some degree to Bitcoin. But his company needed to die. Could he do something good with the, you know, money that he's one of the biggest creditors, by the way, of Mt. Gox. Like he held his coins there, so he would get a lot of money. Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult issue, and you know, what does justice mean in this case? I'm not really sure.
Well, one thing's for sure, compared to any traditional bankruptcy, people are 100 times better off, even though they lose their BTC, and they would have been worth much more today. But then again, you never know whether you would have held on, or maybe you would have sold earlier in the bear market. You have no idea.
Yeah, it's forced hodling, right? Like they were all forced to hold. It's kind of crazy.
Yes. Even at a discount, they're still okay. All right, next one is a little comic video we're gonna have to play, Jimmy.
Yeah. Let's see.
Which features our panelist here, Tone
Good afternoon, Senor Vase.
Not in picture format though.
No, and it's audio, and you guys can't hear it, but my audience can.
It's so fucking bright outside. Jesus Christ.
Was that Tone? Tone, was that your voice in there, or was that Coindaddy imitating you? Because that sounded a lot like you.
Unmute yourself, Tone.
Tone?
Yeah, that was me. I didn't know when the video was gonna end that you played.
Yeah. So okay. So you lent your voice to Coindaddy for this?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I was like listening to that whole thing. I'm like, damn, when the hell is my part gonna come on?
Yeah, I gotta get in touch with Coindaddy and get my voice on there at some point.
Yeah, now I gotta wait for part 3 to come out of him profiling me. He had a really cool thing at the end, man. Like play it a little more.
Okay, you want me to play it? All right. Can you hear it, Tone?
Hey guys, Coindaddy here. Really like doing this. It's a lot of fun for me. I'm only giving it as much time as I can give it right now. So I started a Patreon. If you guys like what I'm doing and you think that we can blow it up to be even bigger than it is right now, I'd love to do that for you.
I thought that was great.
I'll be able to make even better productions, music videos, daytime shows, nighttime shows, more skits, stuff like you've never seen before.
I love the hat.
Do it with your support. I can also pay for more gold.
That's almost as good as my cowboy hat. You know, he got the pin pack going. I gotta love Coindaddy. I support this guy. You know, he's hilarious. And he puts a lot of effort into these scripts, man. Like, I don't know if you saw that PDF, but it's like every detail is in there, and like there's a whole story. It's like, man, that's a lot of planning.
Okay, some funny videos from Coindaddy featuring sometimes Tone Bass, sometimes Jimmy Song. Now our last tip for today is Bitcoin pens. Jimmy, why don't you show a nice picture of this fountain pen or rollerball? Mm-hmm. And it was funny because when we first talked about this, the CEO of the company sent me this, and Jimmy said, "Yeah, I don't know if we can recommend this. It could be a scam." So initially, his assumption is that everything in crypto is a scam, and they want to scam you out of $1,000 because that's how much this fountain pen costs. But I reassured him. I told him, "Look, this is an Italian company, crafts maker, established in 1909, who got on the crypto train and is selling now these really gorgeous pens. And they accept Bitcoin. So if you have a few to spare, that really may be a good Christmas present. Handmade in Italy. If you still use pens, which is sort of also a few people do, this may be a good idea."
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is the sort of thing that you could put in someone's stocking if you are really rich. But you can also hold Bitcoin. I don't know. I personally would like to hold Bitcoin. I think people would appreciate that a little more. But this is for the person that has everything. Well, they probably don't have $1,000 pen. So there you go.
This is for the guy with the pineapple fund.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, my problem with this is, so I buy that the Cryptomatic. So I have both of the watches, right? Series 1, Series 2. Because I'm not going to lose a watch. At least I haven't yet, right? But to me, pens are like sunglasses. I go through about 20 of them a year. And there's no way I would actually hold on to this thing for longer than a month. And that's why there's no way in hell I would be buying this.
Yeah, it's like umbrellas for me. I lose umbrellas like every day. Oh gosh.
I once my mom gave me a Mont Blanc pen, which is also really expensive, and I lost it, I think, in the first month, and that was also when I said that's the last time.
I'm actually good with my one umbrella. I only keep it in like the trunk of my car, and like I only use it back in the trunk because it's I already lost one, and it's my second one, and it's a Bear Stearns asset management umbrella. So I can't lose that one because, I mean,
limited edition.
Giant Bear Stearns logos is like Enron logos, you know, like there's not many of those around.
So if this had a Mt. Gox logo, Tone, you would probably keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and full disclosure, I don't have any affiliation with the company, or I did kind of ask him to send me one to try it out, but he didn't do it. So I'm promoting this.
Not shocked on that one. Not shocked. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the price. Tone, thanks a lot for keeping our wishes in mind yesterday. Bitcoin's trading up a lot. I think people are happy. What's the prediction for the future?
Sure. All right, let me do my little screen share here. Here we go. All right, my typical disclaimer, if you're new to trading, please read the Learn Trading section, and you have no idea what those numbers are on top of my candles. That is thoroughly explained in section 6.
Yeah, it's called the random number generator. Yes.
Yeah, it's called a random number generator, explained in section 6 on the seed of that random number generator. Okay, so here's the weekly chart, getting close to that historical trend line, man. Something I thought I would never see in my lifetime. And we might only be about a week away. So that is actually really, really cool. As far as the long-term weekly charts are concerned, for me, there was a profit-taking situation after this giant run-up to here. The initial buy point was at around 4,600. there was some reason to be cautious in this area, and I called that one out. But as far as the weekly chart is concerned, the take profit area was around 11,000. Huge week the week after. According to my indicators, the time to get back into the market on the long-term view was right here at this line at 16,675 bucks. And we are now bullish and potentially on our way to 7 more weeks of upside. The daily chart gave you a caution symbol right here at the all-time high with a doji reversal, but it broke the prior all-time high and hung around, which is why there is no way I would have considered this red arrow any kind of a long-term sell, because at the same time, the weekly chart just went bullish, the daily chart went cautious. So that means we were looking for a 1 to 4 day correction and then higher. The higher has already begun. This red arrow is obviously going to be ignored. I didn't even talk about it. In fact, I was expecting this 13 a little bit earlier over here, just the way this closed. The day didn't really help. And the daily chart went bullish right here the moment the last 24 hours started trading above that line. So let's see where this line is. This line is at 17,000. So the prior high is, there it is, 16,999. So that literally means that the moment this started trading at about $17,001 sometime in the last 12 hours, Bitcoin became a buy on the daily chart, okay? So now we have the weekly in line with the daily, both calling for new highs and higher prices. So weekly bullish, daily bullish, but here's the 4 hour. Now the 4 hour is giving you another one of these nines. Now the last time the 4 hour gave you a 9 was over here. We had a 1 to 4 day pullback. It was about a day and a half, and then we were going higher. We busted out of this range. So once again, I'm just going to take these arrows and I'm going to say, all right, so my 4 hour is now on a caution flag. The other two are bullish. So I'm going to take this red arrow, I'm going to stick it here, and I'm going to say, okay, so it's time for a 1 to 4 candle pullback, and then probably higher in order. And if the 4 hour can give us a buy signal sometime later in the day or going into tomorrow, you could have the daily in line with the weekly, in line with the daily, which would be a pretty damn good sign, okay? So that's what I'm looking at. The hourly chart is pretty much useless at this point, and it is. So there you go. So your 4 hour chart, that's pretty much it for me. I will be flying to Colombia tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have, decent Wi-Fi in the apartment over there. So we'll see how that goes. And my next seminar will be in Singapore on January 14th. If you want to attend my trading seminar in January, on January 14th in Singapore, please reach out. I'm fairly easy to find on the internet and directly. So reach out to that. I'm not exactly sure about the rest of my travel schedule. Things are a little bit in limbo right now. So back to you guys.
So weren't you just in Colombia 2 weeks ago? Why didn't you just stick around instead of flying across the globe and then coming back?
That's a good question. I wanted to, but there was a couple of good events in Toronto. I seem to be a softie for when people try to convince me to come and speak at their conferences. That might soon change. It might be a little tougher to get me as your speaker. But for now, I try to accommodate a lot of venues, and I'm heading out there. I see, and they're also conflicting. Everyone thinks I'm going to be in Miami for, because I've been there the last 3 years for the Miami event, but it's conflicting with Singapore, and I'm going to be speaking on the blockchain cruise out in Singapore, so I will not be in Miami. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to stick around Colombia, but I had to do I did my seminar in Toronto, which worked out real well, and I did a conference for Sunny Ray, Blockchain.info, which was a really good event, actually. So I'm glad I went.
So some more bullish news from our globetrotter, Tone Vase. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Jimmy, last words?
My name is Jimmy Song, and this song is done. Let's see. Why am I not stopping the stream?